Hello everyone, in this video I will be translating and summarizing the latest Urdu broadcast by Shahbaz Gill to make it accessible for our English-speaking audience. Let us go through the key developments and insights in Shahbaz Gill's words. We begin today's most important news with updates on the Iran, America and Israel conflict. You already know that last night the United States launched an attack on Iran using its B-2 bombers, dropping what it calls the world's heaviest and most dangerous bomb, known as 57. And not just one, multiple bombs were dropped. The United States claimed it completely destroyed 3 of Iran's major nuclear facilities. This was the United States' action, its declaration and its claim. Now, Iran is making its move. Iran has decided on a strategy that could create serious problems for the entire world, not just for America and Israel, but also for France, Germany, China and other countries. Iran's parliament has voted to close the Strait of Hormuz. But what is the Strait of Hormuz? Let me explain. It is a narrow strip of sea, approximately 21 miles wide, between Oman and Iran. On one side is Oman, the other is Iran, and the narrow channel lies in between. From this channel, about 20% of the world's petroleum and 25% of the world's liquefied gas is transported. For Asian markets, the figure is even more significant. 76% of petroleum products and gas pass through here, affecting Japan, China, India, and more. Whatever happens in this market will impact the entire world. As we already told you in a previous update, oil prices immediately rose by 12% and could rise further. Iran's parliament has only voted to close the strait. The final decision will be made by its National Security Council and Supreme Leader Khamenei. If Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz, 20% of the world's oil and 25% of global liquefied natural gas will no longer flow through it. That will massively increase prices, and I do not need to tell you how severely this would affect the Western world, China, India and others. If Iran does go ahead with this, the entire conflict will hinge on it. Countries like France, Britain, the United States, Saudi Arabia and others will be desperate to reopen the strait, possibly leading to attacks on Iran's military positions controlling it. Iran, however, has been preparing for years to militarily control and shut down the strait. It is not impossible to reopen it, but it would be extremely difficult because Iran has a strong military presence in the area. The strait is only 39 kilometers wide. If military bases are bombed, Iran can divide its forces into small units and still maintain control. Also, keep in mind, traffic moves in both directions, and there are long lines of ships waiting to pass through, some sections as narrow as 2 to 4 kilometers, where ships are closely queued. It is a tight, heavily congested zone used by oil tankers and cargo ships. Now to Pakistan's perspective. 70% of Pakistan's oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz. So this will deeply affect Pakistan too. Moving ahead, about 2 hours ago, or 4 hours by United States time, the Pentagon held a press briefing where United States generals and the Defense Secretary stated that they are still assessing the damage caused by the airstrikes on Iran. But President Trump had already claimed 15 hours earlier that Iran's nuclear centers had been completely destroyed. So here is the contradiction. If damage is still being assessed, then how can he already claim complete destruction? This is not just speculation. BBC is reporting this contradiction too. The United States released flight path images of the bombers, but no visual proof of destruction on the ground. BBC is raising serious questions. Did anything actually get destroyed? It seems President Trump is more focused on narrative building than actual impact. Today being Sunday in the United States, all of Trump's key team members are making appearances on talk shows, shaping the narrative that their attack was successful regardless of actual results. It is similar to what Moeed did in India. Instead of focusing on actual impact, he distributed symbolic items and flags after a skirmish. Likewise, Pakistan's DG ISPR was seen visiting colleges and universities, highlighting the importance of perception in modern conflict. As they say, truth is the first casualty of war. Every side pushes its own version of the truth. Back to the Pentagon, they say they launched attacks but do not yet know the outcome. Trump says everything was destroyed. Now Iran's turn. Iran says that the Fordow nuclear facility, which is one of the most fortified sites, is completely safe. Their official government is silent, which serves their interest. But Iranian media claims that only the entrance tunnels to the underground facility were hit. Western analysts had already speculated that only the surface-level entry tunnels could be damaged, and Iran would be able to repair them within days or weeks and resume operations. So consider, Trump says total destruction. Pentagon says assessment is ongoing. BBC says no proof. Iran says facility is safe, except minor tunnel damage. Now the big question, was Iran's nuclear material compromised? That is, was it destroyed or leaked? International Atomic Energy Agency says no radiation has been released. Same statement from the United States and Russia. That means the nuclear material remains intact, and the strike did not breach the core facilities. According to a story in the Washington Post, Iran had already removed the enriched uranium 2 days prior to the United States attack. The report mentions lines of trucks at Fordow and that Iran possibly moved 5,500 kilograms of uranium, perhaps more. Western agencies saw unusual movement, suggesting that the material was indeed evacuated. So combining the Washington Post report, Iran's calm media coverage, and no radiation reports, it appears that Iran successfully protected its nuclear material and no United States bomb reached it. What happens next remains to be seen. Another important development comes from the Atlantic, another credible United States source, which reported that Trump had made the decision to strike on Wednesday evening, but announced on Thursday that he would give negotiations 2 weeks, a deliberate deception. Trump had already decided to attack, but wanted to mislead the public and international community into thinking diplomacy was still possible. We previously warned you not to trust this 2 weeks deadline. Trump often says one thing and does another. We also told you to watch United States financial institutions, as they often react faster than governments to such events, just like birds sense storms before they arrive. In conclusion, the attack happened, but the actual damage is questionable. Iran's facilities, especially Fordow, seem largely intact, and global oil markets are now facing massive uncertainty as Iran may close the Strait of Hormuz. We told you this because on Thursday and Friday, the stock exchange completely collapsed, despite President Trump giving a very positive statement that war is not happening yet. Even then, it completely sank due to these matters. That day, we did an analysis that something big is about to happen. Then, the day before yesterday, we told you that 2 or 3 aircraft had taken off from labor bases. If we knew that, Iran would also have known. That validates and supports the Washington Post story, that Iran moved its uranium from that place. But the Atlantic story is more important. Very important for you, especially for Pakistanis. You may wonder what the significance is of the decision being made on Wednesday and not on Thursday or Friday. The timing is very important. Remember, on that Wednesday, our Field Marshal had lunch with them. Yes, on that very Wednesday. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Field Marshal met them, and the decision for the strike was made that same evening. This is not my claim. The Atlantic says this. Of course, the Atlantic did not say that they had lamb chops together. That line I added. But the Atlantic said the decision was made Wednesday evening. We had already told you on Thursday that their meeting schedule hinted at something. So the analysis we had done is now being proven by the Atlantic story, that President Trump was holding off for that important meeting with our Field Marshal and made the decision to strike just hours after the meeting. What was discussed in that meeting? Was any help given from our side? Any promises? Did they need any support from us, or did we refuse? That remains to be seen. Time will tell why they made this decision right after meeting with us. After all, they could have made it earlier. Remember, he had just returned from the G7 and could have made the decision then. But he waited to meet our Field Marshal first. Remember, the meeting was scheduled for 45 minutes but lasted almost 2 hours. What was discussed? What agreements were made that led President Trump to take such a major decision? I will leave that to you and to time, because the truth always comes out eventually. Now, let us move ahead. ABC News America reports that preparations for this strike had been ongoing for a year by Israel and America. It was not a sudden decision by Trump or someone else. It had been planned, but they were waiting to take the surrounding players into confidence, get their cooperation, etc. That is what delayed things. Now, just after Field Marshal met them and left, many so-called analysts in Pakistan started spreading narratives. Remember, they do not do it on their own. Some colonel or brigadier tells them to. They claimed that our general told President Trump not to attack and that he would mediate, resolve the matter peacefully. Sounds like a joke, but it is not. These were real claims by pro-establishment media personalities, those who usually echo ISPR's narrative. They claimed the Field Marshal convinced Trump to resolve the matter through dialogue and not attack. But in reality, as the Atlantic reports, the order for the strike was given right after the meeting. So how much did we persuade him? Not at all, perhaps. Everything is visible now. Moving on, inside Pakistan, DG ISPR. Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif has met religious and social leaders in Karachi, clearly trying to take the clergy into confidence regarding the Iran issue. They do not want things to spill over. He also reiterated today that only the state can declare jihad. No individual or group has that authority. Previously, religious organizations would declare jihad on Afghanistan. Now, with Iran, especially with strong emotional and sectarian ties among Shias in Pakistan, there is a risk they may do the same. So DGISPR reminded everyone, only the state can declare jihad. Let us talk about Ishaq Dar. He is in a very awkward position. Pakistan just announced a nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize for President Trump, but on the same day condemned the strike. Though Pakistan did not name the United States directly, they condemned Israel, even though the strike was carried out by the United States. Yet Ishaq Dar signed off the Nobel nomination for Trump. How ironic. Iran is seeking an emergency meeting of its National Security Council in New York. Pakistan supports that. But on the same day, we nominate Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. This contradiction is what I mentioned the other day, that all the high points have passed, and now we are entering a downfall. Our general has played all his cards. Whether war breaks out in Iran or not, whether our bases are used or not, in both cases, it will be detrimental for our general. The Nobel Prize is now tied to this decision. Now they're trying to distance themselves from it. There's an interesting development. Let me first quote what was said during the meeting. President Trump said, "They know Iran very well, better than most, and they are not happy about what is happening." It is not that they are bad with Israel. They know both, actually, but probably they know Iran better. They see what is going on, and he agreed with me. These are Trump's own words said after the meeting. You have seen what happened after that. Now let me quickly tell you the new emergency strategy our generals have adopted to divert attention from this Nobel Prize embarrassment. And they have used someone for it, Ansar Abbasi. Ansar Abbasi is one of the biggest hypocrites in Pakistani journalism. You might ask why I target him. I will explain another time. Journalism is one thing, personal vendetta is another. This man made the worst personal attacks on Imran Khan, on me, on our party. He does not even move a pen without a colonel's permission. And today he dropped a bombshell. A corruption story claiming Maryam Nawaz committed a rupees 10 trillion, some say rupees 21 trillion scam in Punjab. This explosive story shook everyone. Now you may ask, why would the generals want such a big corruption scandal against Maryam Nawaz made public now? Is it really corruption? Not exactly. I criticize Maryam often, but this is an audit report about financial irregularities, not confirmed corruption. Such audit paras often mention mismanagement, missing bills, bureaucratic carelessness, not necessarily theft. The amount may be exaggerated politically. This is not a formal corruption case, so why now? Because it is a media diversion tactic by the military establishment to divert attention away from the Field Marshal's visit, the Trump strike, and the Nobel nomination. So they planted this rupees 10 trillion corruption story and used Ansar Abbasi, their loyal media pawn, to release it. It is a distraction. While Iran is firing missiles at Israel, missiles so advanced that the sirens in Haifa did not even go off, we are launching corruption allegations at Maryam Nawaz to shift public focus. And Maryam must be thinking, what did I do to deserve this? But that is how they play. They even sacrifice their own pawns when needed. So PMLN should realize, sooner or later you will be next under the bus. And notice how they used the biggest hypocrite journalist, actually a colonel-level journalist, if we may invent a term, to launch this attack. You understand now. That wraps up our translation of Shahbaz Gill's video. I hope this English version helped you understand his message better. Please like, share and subscribe to Awami Lens to help our community grow. Do not forget to leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of this effort.